Okay, here is the English translation of the text you provided. Friends, imagine this. In the heart of the British monarchy, a drama is unfolding that eclipses any Hollywood blockbuster. Prince William, the future king, is so enraged that any mention of his brother's name could end in scandal. He's ready to throw even his closest advisors out of the room. And King Charles? Oh, here lies something truly sinister. His anger is directed not at the prodigal son, Harry, but at his own heir. A recent discussion about the royal family, based on reports from well-known journalists, reveals new details about the strained relationship between Prince William, Prince Harry, and King Charles. William, according to sources, has reverted to a state where any mention of Harry's name in his presence could lead to him throwing someone out of the room. It is known that Harry desires some sort of public acknowledgement, which is on his list of desired scenarios for returning to the country and spending more time there. He would like Charles to somehow publicly acknowledge or forgive him in order to encourage the rest of the public to do the same. Today, the royal family is shaken by accusations from Tina Brown, a close friend of Princess Diana and a leading figure in royal journalism, who claims that King Charles is much angrier with Prince William than with his younger son. The real story from Prince Harry's biographer and royal expert Angela Levin will be presented soon, but first, it's worth going through Tina Brown's report. She writes, "At last, Prince Harry has done something right, which is bad news for the Prince of Wales. After 5 years of spewing anger and muttering therapeutic gibberish, the ginger usurper has finally realized that all royals need to win public enthusiasm is to dash around Britain and smile. Watching Harry's vigorous air sword fight with a sweet 9-year-old disabled girl at the Well Child Awards in London and his dance moves at the Children in Need recording studio in Nottingham, it brought a ray of royal optimism to a country whose national motto should be, 'It'll be ready in 6 weeks.' Harry's buoyant photo ops rivaled Prince William and Kate's events for press coverage this week and had to be asked, who would you rather spend time with? A tigerish Duke of Sussex or a sober and suitable William at an endlessly perfect cake and tea soiree in the company of the head of one of Queen Elizabeth's best-loved but groaningly square charities, the Women's Institute. Likely, more fun was to be had at the King's raucous house party at Balmoral, where His Majesty and Camilla entertained such national treasures as the ab-fabulous glamourpuss Joanna Lumley and the no-nonsense human rights Baroness Helena Kennedy, who broke the rules by ignoring the tartan dress code. Harry's own reboot, a positivity campaign he hopes will make him likable to his still irritated father and a negative British public, came with a new surprise twist. A contribution from his own bank account of $1.1 million. This cleverly raises the awkward question for William of just what the 43-year-old Prince of Wales is doing with the £23 million a year he receives from the Duchy of Cornwall. And she continues, while the British press is obsessed with a Harry and Charles rapprochement that's warming up, or a Harry and William reconciliation that's not going to happen, the King, I'm told, is currently less irritated by wayward Harry than he is with his older son and heir. Somehow, William's devotion to parenting always seems like a veiled criticism of the King's own paternal shortcomings, and after 5 confirmed family holidays in the past 7 months, William's first week back throbbed with 2 outings, a father-daughter excursion to a Women's Rugby World Cup match, and a stroll round the new gardens of the Natural History Museum. Charles, despite his battle with cancer, fulfilled official engagements on 175 days in the past 12 months. The past as prologue. Next headline, where she says, after 5 years stewing in Montecito as a prince without portfolio. Harry, it seems, has outgrown Meghan's vision of royalty as a version of global celebrity and renewed his vows to the old royal style of being an emissary of validation. This is what Queen Elizabeth attempted to show the newlywed Duchess of Sussex when she invited Meghan to accompany her on her first outing as a granddaughter-in-law. Not to sashay on a glamorous royal red carpet, but to open a 6-lane toll bridge in the town of Chester near Liverpool. The Queen wore a celebratory lime-green cat-in-the-hat hat, matching coat and white gloves, and she was, indeed, seen to be having a joyous time at a public event that did not involve horses. Now Harry is showing his father he understands the fulfilling dullness of duty once more, and is ready for the hard yards of redemption. But Angela Levin has huge problems with this new reporting from Tina Brown, which, she says, does not take into consideration Catherine's struggle with cancer, and the fact that William has made it a priority to live as normally as possible during this period. Big news! Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. Please subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I will take 5 stars if I may. You see, I think it is absolutely absurd to take a couple of things where the king might have been slightly irritated and saying, "Get rid of the other one. This one's okay." You can't just think of the moment. You have to go back. The Queen asked Harry and Meghan not to speak to Oprah Winfrey for the next month or so because the Duke of Edinburgh was extremely ill. He was in hospital and about to die, and she didn't want him upset. Did they listen? No. And the same thing was within the last few months when the Queen was extremely ill with blood cancer, and Harry was phoning up and being awful, he was rude, he shouted at her, he wasn't getting what he wanted on a number of things, and he didn't care. So you can't just compare somebody because they come over for a couple of days and start dashing around, doing their best to say, "Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you." I think it was real, but it's not funny. And I also think you've got to take into account, because King Charles must be in a lot of pain most of the time. He's trying very hard to work and to go around and do absolutely everything he can, and he's done a tremendous amount of visits in this last year, but it does stop him a bit because he has got this terrible illness. And you can't compare it to him when he was feeling alive and very keen on things. You can't do the same. You have to understand what's going on with him. And I don't think he's unhappy with William at all, because when he was in the hospital with cancer, he went to see his lovely daughter-in-law all the time, talked to her, was kind, and said, "Take your time. Don't rush. It's very important that you don't." And I think he'll understand that he's not expecting William now to dash around and leave his wife to do a lot of the work at home. He needs to be there. He needs to be a good father, which he is. For God's sake, he had such a difficult childhood and upbringing that he now wants to be a good husband and a good father, and he can't do everything. He's done a lot, but he doesn't believe in little bits and pieces. And that's what she said, that, Harry doing little pieces was so funny and it was so delightful and so nice. He outshone William by miles, but he doesn't necessarily do that because they're small and cute and quite nice, but he's trying to do the big things. When he was at university in Scotland, he decided that he didn't want to be king. And one of the reasons he didn't want to was because he didn't want to be cutting ribbons all the time. And he talked a lot about it to a girlfriend who we all know, and she helped him find things that are of real meaning rather than just rushing around and cutting ribbons, and he changed his mind. I believe she did, and her parents, because they allowed him to be a real person, and he didn't have to do anything. He had to work things out for himself, and that's how he gets a lot of feeling that it's good to help on the ground in the world. And I think I would much rather have somebody who's looking after his children, because you've got the next generation of people. You've got George, you've got him. He may be king soon, one day, and you want him to be a good boy who can cope with these things. And I think if you just cut him out and want him to dash around like mad and say, "I'm better than you," it's not a good idea. I think it's completely wrong. And I can't see why it's so unpleasant to do. And the point is, this is clearly affecting William, who thought he had finally moved on from all this psychodrama with Prince Harry. His brother had made his decision. He was supposed to be in exile. And everyone thought, well, William thought he was all done with him, and suddenly everything is turned upside down. So it's worth going through this report from Charlotte Griffiths, who is now very pro-Harry. And it's the headline from the Mail report. If you mention his name, he'll throw you out of the room. While William is more resolute than ever to cut Harry out of his life, as Charlotte Griffiths reveals how he was driven to fury by his brother's audacious comeback plan. And she writes, Prince William has doubled down on his determination to cut Prince Harry out of his life after his brother's reconciliation with the king at Clarence House. It is exactly a year since the Sussexes launched Operation Harry back from the cold. And while the Duke's 12-month strategy has come to fruition with his father, he is no closer to contact with his brother. Indeed, Harry's success in the UK last week means the future king is burning with renewed determination to rid the monarchy of the Sussexes for good. Exactly. Good job, William. That's what you should be doing. This is what the well-placed Telegraph insider said. William has returned to the point where if you mention Prince Harry in his presence, he will throw you out of the room. He is doubling down. She writes with respect to what has just been discussed about Tina Brown that Harry's reconciliation strategy is not finished. Further down the Duke's wish list is some sort of public acknowledgement from the king. A source said that Harry would one day like his father to encourage the nation to take him back, as the late Queen did towards the end of her life when she asked the public to embrace Camilla as Queen Consort. If Charles can do something like that, Harry would have some hope of not being completely exiled forever when William becomes king. Although it is hard to guess from the spiteful interviews he has given in recent years, Harry really does want to come back. Harry reads his own polling. He knows he is one of the least popular royals and wants that to change, says the source. He wants to get back to being one of the most popular. Meghan doesn't care about perceptions in the UK, and that's fine, but Harry does. However, the source adds to Charlotte Griffiths at the Mail. William is more resolute than ever to cut Harry off. It infuriates William that Harry executed a 12-month master plan to get back into favour. Palace aides are said to be concerned that William's doubling down mentality is a setback for him personally, although for a while, William's anger had cooled to a point of indifference towards his brother, which was great for his mental well-being, another source adds. William had got to a stage where Harry was a non-person. He had sunk so far beneath his radar that he had completely disappeared from his mind. It can't be good that William has returned to a point where he will throw someone out at the very mention of Harry's name. The phrase non-person was coined by the Queen Mother to refer to people whose name could not be mentioned by friends or aides in her presence, like her brother-in-law Edward VIII, whose abdication forced her and her husband to become king and queen. With Harry as a non-person safely 5,000 miles away in California, those around William felt there was no need to mention Harry's name. This has all been shattered by last week's appearance. The source added, "Now Harry is back in the UK, back at Clarence House, back in contact with his father, and back on the subject of emails." Another source added, "William initially went through all the stages of grief over his brother. When they first fell out, he went to Balmoral and just went off his food. Just before the Oprah show came out, he was crying. Then he moved on to anger, and when that stage was over, he just compartmentalized everything and moved on. He never expected to regularly be in the same postcode as his brother again, as he was last week. So perhaps it tells Harry that he has got another 2 years in the reconciliation strategy that I revealed in this paper a year ago. Early signs came when his British friends started getting texts from the prince ahead of his 40th birthday last September. This was followed by Zoom calls with former royal aides. As I reported at the time, Harry was swapping his Hollywood advisors, who appeared to do little to salvage his battered reputation, for a more traditional royal team with palace experience and military backgrounds. Harry is turning away from all kinds of Hollywood publicists and seeking advice from his old friends and associates. He is clearly reaching out, thinking, "I need to do something different because what I am doing is not working." In short, he is reviewing the way he operates. His concerns about the lack of government security after losing his appeal in May against the Home Office decision to cut his police protection are likely to keep Meghan and the children at home. However, if the chances of his wife attending are slim, then the likelihood of him accepting an invitation from his brother is non-existent. But as a source says, Harry has learned this week that playing the long game works. For now, he is focused on reuniting with Charles, his charities, the public, and a handful of old friends. Harry has not yet tried his luck with William, but you never know. He is quite emboldened after this week, and 2 years is a long time in royal politics. Well, Angela Levin, never has such disgusting propaganda been read than what has just been heard. But first, a partnership with Gundry MD to share this information. Would you believe me if I said that right now inside your pantry is one of the healthiest foods on the planet? Yes, it's true. It's not some weird trendy superfood. Spoiler alert, it's olive oil. You're probably used to cooking with it, but there are countless ways you can use olive oil to help yourself look and feel younger. For example, olive oil is a natural way to help you achieve a more youthful appearance. Besides helping you look younger on the outside, it's a fantastic tool for your insides. According to Dr. Stephen Gundry, a renowned cardiothoracic surgeon, nutrition expert, and health advocate, you should be getting as much high-quality olive oil in your daily diet as possible, whether by drinking it daily or keeping a bottle in your medicine cabinet in the bathroom. But what olive oil is best for your health? Well, any olive oil can give you some benefits, but if you want to get the best results, what you choose matters a lot. The olive oil industry is huge. You can tell by the number of olive oil brands you see at the grocery store, and you can bet that they're not all made with the consumer in mind, and many brands may even cut corners in one way or another to increase profits. When Dr. Gundry came to this realization, he was shocked. But some olive oils are so powerful that it may only take a few tablespoons a week to see these incredible health benefits. So how can you tell the difference between an olive oil that could be a health booster and one that isn't up to par? In an attempt to answer this important question, Dr. Gundry decided to take a stand and release his personal research and findings. The video went viral upon release, and it's important that you see it to start benefiting immediately. You can watch the video right now by going to getolive1.com, outspoken, or clicking the link in the description below. So getolive1.com, outspoken, or just click on the link in the description below this video. People who have followed his advice have shared their results with him, saying that the olive oil they purchased after learning his simple rules has helped transform their lives. So make sure you go to getolivione.com/outspoken or click the link in the description below this video. But now back to the show. Well, firstly, William he's taught himself not to be upset about Harry, to cut him out of his life. And you can do that if you get somebody to erase them from your brain. You can carry on, especially if you've got children, because they're very good at helping you feel better. But I don't think that's happening. I don't think he got on so well with his father, the king, because that was just imagination that everything was wonderful. Actually, it wasn't wonderful at all. Harry insisted that Camilla wasn't in the room where they talked, absolutely insisted. But when he arrived, she was there quite rightly. She wanted to be there for the king, not for herself, but for the king. That if Harry said something rude or horrible, she could sort of deal with it or cope with it. Now, that's not what he wanted. He gave in. And I think that was a very important thing that he did, because he got nowhere. He couldn't say anything about what he demanded, and I don't think that the king will actually go against his mother's rule, which was you can't have one foot inside and one foot outside. He's either got to come back and be with everybody else in this country in London, in the palace, or just forget it. And I think in some ways Harry will try to get Meghan back. She wants it as much as anything. She thinks she's far better than her sister-in-law, and she wants to be part of it, but they won't listen, so it's not going to happen. And that's okay, and it's rubbish to say that maybe the Queen or the King would forgive him because he's coming back and being a bit naughty, but let's be very kind to him. After all, the late Queen allowed Camilla back into the royal family. Now, if you can compare Harry and what he's done to the royal family here, what he's said, how appalling he's been, is really important. Whereas Queen Camilla has worked incredibly hard. She hasn't put a foot wrong once. She's done so many things for the king, made him much happier, and without complaining or anything, she's coped extremely well. And even Princess Anne, who didn't like her at first, and then said she's just changed William Charles. You know, he's so much happier and he doesn't get annoyed, and she does so much work, and they've now become very good friends. And Princess Anne, as we know, has a very high level of gratitude or dislike, and she now gets on very well with her. And Camilla's not trying to ruin the monarchy. She's not trying to outdo anybody else. In fact, you don't hear about her very much. She does things quietly, but does masses, especially behind the scenes. I know several people that she's actually helped and made their lives happier, but she's not trying to steal all the attention away from the king. Whereas Will, Harry, and Meghan have always got to be at the front. They're doing it at the Invictus Games, which is terrible. Now it's for them and for Meghan to show off. It's not for the people that have fought in battles. And I'm not paying any attention to it. What amazes me is how all these very clever journalists can all say the same thing. I've counted 6 newspapers where journalists, who I know for some time, and they've never said this. What is it? Is it the Sussex squad that are shouting at them or offering something? I don't know. But it doesn't make sense to me that they would go down this route of seeing somebody awful who's trying not to do better, but trying to take over and see how clever he is and what he can do, rather than somebody else who's an actual royal at the moment. Yeah, very interesting, Angela. Great analysis, just worth showing a little bit more of what Charlotte Griffiths had to say about these claims, specifically this idea that King Charles, is giving Harry a path back while appearing on GB News. Take a look at this. Well, just to put it briefly, I was told this week by somebody who knows that William has gone back to the point where he will throw somebody out of the room if they mention Harry's name in his presence. The background of this is that William, of course, when all of this started 5-6 years ago, was furious and full of anger, and at one point he was very sad, and he mourned his brother. But then he got to a point for quite a long time now where he was indifferent and considered Harry what the royal family calls a non-person, which is a classic phrase invented by the Queen Mother, which means somebody who just isn't mentioned in front of working royals. They're so beneath contempt that they're just banished from conversation, non-person, and William was comfortable in that zone. But what's happened now, of course, Harry's back in the country. Harry's seeing his father. Aides are having to discuss with William about clashing of their events, which has happened all this week. And of course, William is furious. He is not in the mood to mend fences with his brother at all. And yeah, he will throw somebody out of the room if they mention his name. William, they argue a lot. They disagree a lot. So I think Charles can well encourage William, but I don't think it will happen. But I know something that Harry wants is some sort of public acknowledgement, in his wish list of scenarios of coming back to the country and spending more time there. I think it would be nice, or he would like Charles to somehow acknowledge him or forgive him publicly, to encourage the rest of the public to do the same. And this is what the Queen, the late Queen, famously did before she died. She basically addressed the nation and gave a speech saying, please welcome Camilla as Queen Consort when I'm gone. And that paved the way for what we now do, which is call Camilla Queen, fully. And the atmosphere then was Camilla was still completely hated, the nation was not behind her at all. But when you have somebody who you really respect, permitting you to like somebody like the Queen did with Camilla and like Charles could do with Harry, that could move him on several steps in his very slow-burning quest to reing himself with the country. But unless William turns around and sanctions him, and permits the country to get behind him when he's king, it's not going to last very long. Angela, I honestly believe she is delusional. I think this strategy is completely delusional. Look, with Camilla, Angela, even now, there's a lot of people who still don't forgive her because of the Diana affair. And we're talking about 3 decades. And with Harry and Meghan, it's like you ruined the late Queen's final months of her life. You ruined the late Prince Philip's final months of his life. You are now ruining the final months of the current, or not the final months. Let me be very careful with what I say. You are ruining the final years of the current reigning king. We're not just going to forget this. It is a delusional strategy. Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's an appalling thing to do. I think Harry's actually devised this with his new PR team. He's done so much in such a short time, where he could show boast. And they've done all this, including, if it happened, seeing the king. And it did happen seeing the king, but I don't think he got anywhere with him. But he's come out and pretending that it's wonderful. How he wants his children to come here now. Wait, what does Meghan want? Does she want her children to be educated in the UK? Are they going to put them to the school that he went to? He told me he hated the school. He decided when he started he would only mix with the naughty boys. And that's what he did. So all of a sudden, you want to bring your children here to give them an experience of a school that he hated for himself. So this is all nonsense. All rubbish. And I just think he's doing something for Meghan to please her, to show off and see if he can get a lot of money from the king. Because actually, if he's saying he spent 1.1 million on poor children and 370,000 on children in Gaza, he'll want some help, won't he? If he's got the money, then he doesn't need to ask Charles. And it's very wrong for a royal to mention the exact amount. You shouldn't do that. So he's broken that rule and trying to get money from his father and, pay for school as well, pay for the school, pay for the people that look after him 24/7 to keep him safe. But if he goes to Ukraine, it doesn't matter at all. He can go without anybody. If you break it down, you can see that it just doesn't make sense. And I know with Charlotte Griffiths that, 2 months ago, she might be like everyone else, but all of a sudden, she's changed immediately about Harry and suddenly thought it's lovely and he's great and all wonderful. I don't know why she's done that, but she must have a reason, like everyone else. But actually, I'm sticking to and agreeing with you that I'm not doing just because it's you, because I do agree with you. And I think it's a terrible thing to do. And she never ends it. This could have been... He could have done this, but I think he wants everything sorted out with his father before William takes over, because he won't get anything. And then it will be really difficult. So hopefully the king carries on for a long time, because this type of cancer that he's got, you can, but you never know at that age anyway. But if he's just showing off and helping Meghan become absolutely brilliantly loved with the royal family, she won't take any notice of what she said that she hated all this time, because she doesn't stick to anything. She says one thing that she's going to do, and tomorrow she's done something else. So we don't need to worry about that.